In this video, you'll be learning about this topic.
Let's talk about the big topic here. The first thing that I want to cover is just if Bitcoin wasn't out there, this is a story about gold, really.
Yes.
This is a major story about gold. But now you have this technology that's offering a counter to even that brings a whole lot of other qualities that gold is deficient in as far as spendability, divisibility, all of those things.
Sorry, I'm just going to go back a sec. Actually, about three things. Gold, it would have been. And the other one, maybe even more importantly, and you're seeing it, is cash flow. So the SaaS business model is all powerful because you're generating something of real value. Now, it's overvalued right now, but it throws off cash, right? When you've got businesses that are throwing off 70, 80% margins, whoever wants to own a bond? Why do you even want to own gold? You're just compounding capital at such an incredible rate. So that's the other thing. So gold, cash flows.
That's such a great point. Just looking here in 2020, look at NASDAQ. The margins of the FANG stocks, the stocks that's really driving the index, they just have the fattest margins.
We've never seen margins like this before. General Electric and Ford never had margins like this. We've never seen this before. So I understand it's difficult for the market to figure out how to price this stuff because we just don't know. I mean, we've never seen businesses that generate hundreds of billions of dollars in revenues and have 70% margins. I mean, really? I mean, that's astonishing. So it's difficult to value. I get it.
Before we start going down this path, I want to talk to you about something that is kind of on a similar light. So right now you're seeing a political movement to kind of break up some of these companies. And so many of these companies are being driven by artificial intelligence, deep learning. And you look at the competitors over in China, where the centralization of their competitors over in that geographical region are encouraged for consolidation and encouraged to be integrated with the government so that all that data can be harvested and manipulated and used to benefit the regime. Is the West in a vulnerable position because of the cries for monopolies and for governments to step in and start breaking some of these apart? And I mean, how are we going to remain competitive against the East when they're embracing it and we're starting to go in the other direction?
We're going to wall ourselves off or them off, whichever way you want to look at it. It's the only way. The only way is to break into two internets, essentially, because you can't compete with state actors because it's too dangerous and they're too powerful. Meanwhile, I also don't agree with the fact that Google has more data on more people than any other entity in the world, far more than the Chinese government has. I mean, those guys have everything. I've never even seen anybody ask the question, how secure is that data? Nobody even talks about the security of Google data, but this is a sovereign risk of the highest order, probably the most important database in the world. And Google on their own manage it? And how? So that we have to be very careful with granting these people the powers, including the private sector, because the ability of either abuse or of nefarious state actors stealing it are, I think, too important to ignore.
So let's talk the Bitcoin versus gold versus cash flow. What are your overarching opinions on this?
My opinions are, in life, have cash flow, and then own Bitcoin as your asset, as your hard asset. Because, if you're operating cash flow, you're generating cash, which devalues over time. I don't believe necessarily that Michael Saylor's point is applicable to everybody because nobody's thinking about 100-year time horizons of the capital. But overall, look, we're in a risky world out there. We're trying to make growth in our capital for the future. First thing is invest in yourself. So whether you create a business or, and you've done that, right? You create a business. It's a high margin business. It generates an income. It affords you the opportunities to make investments and have a lifestyle, right? That's all that matters. For me, everything is all about the lifestyle token. That's what you live for, is your life. I don't live for my Bitcoin. The Bitcoin creates my life, for example. So that's how I think of it first, is first cash flow. Cash flow security gives the ability to then accumulate assets that have future value.
As you're talking about your retained earnings, you say that some of it is in Bitcoin. Do you also own big technology stocks?
I have none. And the reason being is I fear about regulatory risk. And I also think they're expensive and I don't know how to value them any longer. But I kind of think I know how to value Bitcoin, which is it's a reserve asset with a call attached. On the future financial system, we talked about opting into a parallel system. Well, one's being built. So what value is that worth? Well, that's worth a lot. So I think I can get a macro valuation. I can't for Apple. I can't get $1 trillion company and figure out, is it worth 3 trillion? I just can't do that. And that's just probably because I'm stupid, but I just don't know how to do it. So I just stay away from it. And I put out a tweet thread today that I've now can't even use my Twitter. It's kind of overwhelmed with this thread showing Bitcoin versus every other major asset, including Amazon and Apple, right? They're all breaking down versus Bitcoin. Look, I've been in this game a long time. I've also studied history. I have never, ever seen an entire asset consume every single other asset in the world. I mean, it's extraordinary. And I think this is just the start, right?
Talk about the charts that you're describing, because I've seen them on Twitter. Tell the audience that maybe didn't see your tweet.
So the charts I started with is, okay, what does gold look like versus Bitcoin? Well, gold is breaking down versus Bitcoin. Then what does the NASDAQ look like? Because surely the NASDAQ must be outperforming. No, it's breaking down. What about the banks? Well, the banks, we've always talked about that Bitcoin's destroying the banks. Well, the banks are at all-time lows in Bitcoin price, using Bitcoin as the denominator. What about commodities? Well, if you use Bitcoin as the denominator, commodities are at all-time lows. Okay, what about Apple, Amazon, the G4 central bank balance sheets? That's been the most powerful asset in the world. No, Bitcoin's eating them all. So Bitcoin is becoming the world's strongest narrative, and it's only just started. The chart patterns alone all look like they're breaking. So this is very interesting. I've never seen this before in my life.
And just to put a little context on what Raoul was talking about. So from the start of 2020, you have let's see what this is. Gold is up 24% since the start of the year. The NASDAQ is up 30%. Apple is up 55%. And Bitcoin is up 97%. It's crazy.
It is crazy. And then the banks are down, 40, 30?
Yeah, they're negative.
Bitcoin is up 97 and the banks are down 30, right? That's 120% outperformance. This is incredible.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next podcast episode and new investing resources.
What are your takeaways and thoughts on this discussion? Let us know in the comments section below.